But you know who else hasn't been on the field is Brandon Aiyuk. And
Mm-hmm.
Brandon Aiyuk obviously was like a top 20-ish, top 15-ish type receiver. Somebody that's like high-end wide receiver 2 upside. Right now, he's going really late in drafts, but that's for
Mm-hmm.
good reason. There's been news that he's probably not even going to be ready to play until about week 6-ish. So there's been talks that like that could be sooner, it could be later, but week 6, we're just talking about that with Rashee Rice. Like that's a long time to go without a player. The difference is, for sure, I don't know if Rashee Rice you'll be able to put him on your IR spot, but
Yeah, I
Brandon
don't think
Aiyuk,
you will.
I don't think so either. Brandon
Yeah.
Aiyuk will be able to go onto your IR spot, so you can wait. But this injury is an ACL. It's not an MCL like Rashee Rice. He's got to be able to show that he's all the way back from that injury.
Yeah.
And Brandon Aiyuk, there are also some other weapons there. You got Ricky Pearsall, Jawan Jennings when he's able to return, George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey. I really like Brandon Aiyuk, the player, but I'm having trouble right now justifying it now that we know it's going to be a 6-game absence at probably around a 6-game absence and then probably another 3 or 4 game ramp up for Aiyuk. He does carry the possibility now, Tyler, of like, hey, fantasy playoffs, he's back to full speed, he can help your team win. But that's a long time to go without Brandon Aiyuk. Are you okay with him drafting him right now? He's going like outside the top 40 receivers.
Yeah, so in this draft, Max got him right before me. I got Chris Godwin in the 10th round, and he took Brandon Aiyuk in the 10th round. And like, I think at that point, sure, like why not?
Yeah.
Because I mean, I sat on Jonathan Brooks forever last year, and that was earlier than the 10th round. So now, what I will say with Brandon Aiyuk that it's not just the biggest problem with Brandon Aiyuk. It wasn't just like the ACL; he also tore the MCL. And what we see with those guys is they typically aren't themselves. So I just would not be betting on Brandon Aiyuk ended up being the player that he once was this year. I think it's probably going to take him another year to be himself. But you never know. Like maybe he's still a younger guy. He's 27, I guess. Like that's still youngish. It's not like he's in his 30s or anything like that. So,
and it happened a little earlier in the season last year.
Yeah, and like I know he's not practicing, but once again, you're not paying a significant price. It's not like it was early in the year where he was going in like the 7th round of draft.
Yeah.
Now that's too early where there's still a lot of guys on the board. You're talking other wide receivers that got drafted after him. Or you're talking Kyle Williams, Rashid Shaheed. Like, yeah, I mean, those guys are fine, but like we know what Brandon Aiyuk can be when he's the player that he is. So I don't mind taking him, especially only if you have an IR spot. Like if you don't, I don't want to sit on him for 6 weeks without an IR spot.
Earlier, he was going as like a starter, like as a flex, as a back end wide receiver 3. And I think since the summer, his ADP has come down where it should be. Yeah. This is about the range where I feel like in the 10th round, 9th round, 11th round, this is where I can justify getting Brandon Aiyuk, especially if you solidified your starting lineup already. Now is a good time for upside because that's what we're craving anyway. We're craving the Emeka Egbuka. We're craving the Jaden Higgins and the Keon Colemans and, the Ricky Pearsalls, the guys who can kind of like take our roster to a new level. And we know with Brandon Aiyuk, if he can get there by week 12, week 11, we have that kind of player. The one thing I would say is that Brandon Aiyuk might be a player you can trade for later. Because in the season, sometimes he's sitting on the IR spot and people are like, I'm about to miss the playoffs. You can be like, hey, well, throw me Brandon Aiyuk in the deal too and we'll get it done. So I don't know if, like you mentioned, you have to have an IR spot because he's not worth holding on your bench. We don't know when he's coming back. And this could be one of those situations where he don't come back till week 13 or 14. Mm-hmm. Like it could happen. But I think with Brandon Aiyuk, the talent is there, and we know he could be like a top 12 to 15-ish type receiver when he's healthy. It's just tough to wait on that kind of production in fantasy when it's already so, especially in a team that only has like 4 teams that get in the playoffs. Like it's hard to make the playoffs and win in the fantasy playoffs. So at cost, I don't mind Brandon Aiyuk right now, but it kind of reminds me of like how I'm treating Chris Godwin right now. It's like I'm just kind of avoiding him unless I feel really good about my roster. If I feel really good about my roster and I feel like I got enough talent, then let's go. But if he's my wide receiver 4, if he's my like flex, ain't no way I could take Brandon Aiyuk.
No. Who would you rather have, him or Godwin?
I think right now, just knowing the situation, Godwin, because there's a possibility. Like if I had a draft today, there's a possibility that Godwin can play week 1. We know, like Shanahan's kind of come out and told us, like Brandon Aiyuk's not ready.
That he's basically going to start the year on PUP.
And I think with Godwin too, it's just like his role's a little less taxing. Like Brandon Aiyuk has to go play the X against like top corners, whereas Godwin's in the slot, a lot of stuff at the line of scrimmage. It's not so route dependent, you know. And you talk about viable options, like we know the Tampa Bay offense can spread things out, whereas like the Niner offense kind of relies on Brandon Aiyuk and his ability. And you got Ricky Pearsall now, who's jumping up draft boards as well. Like obviously, Ricky Pearsall had a strong finish to his rookie year, had some spike moments too. But he's going now, like he's kind of crept into like this top 30-ish receiver range, wide receiver 3, solidified wide receiver 3 range ahead of some really nice names. How do you feel about Ricky Pearsall? And as a Niner fan, I'm excited, but without Deebo Samuel there, you know, Juwan Jennings dealing with the injuries, kind of like the last of the Mohicans at the wide receiver position. Are you in at wide receiver 3 cost?
So I keep pointing to this just because it was a competitive league and we drafted. So he went in the 7th round, right next to Downs and Jordan Addison, Khalil Shakir, Jennings, and I do like him in that range. I do think that there's you got to kind of treat him like a rookie a little bit, just because we don't know. Like last year got shot in the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
Took him a while, I'm sure, to get build up.
I want to say he was injured before that
and everything. Too. What's that?
I want to say he was injured before that too.
Was he? I don't even remember.
Yeah, I think he either right before that or right after that he got hurt.
He got hurt.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's not a fair shake. And then you see him at the end of the year when there's opportunity and he ends up having a couple good games to finish the season. Obviously, it's the end of the year and you got to take all that with a grain of salt. But I do think that there's opportunity here for him, massive opportunity to be a potential wide receiver too, because we know that this offense obviously is lacking a true wide receiver threat. I know that they have Juwan Jennings, who's also been banged up as well. For me personally, I feel like last year is more of a fluky year, and the guy that they wanted to draft, or a guy that they took in the 1st round of the NFL draft, is the guy that they hope can be the guy for them. So for me personally, I'm fine with taking him for where he currently goes. A lot of times it's kind of like Matthew Golden or him. It's kind of my debate this year in who I want in the 7th round, because I think both of them possess a lot of upside, and they may not even hit that upside. They may be total duds. But I do like the potential there for Ricky Pearsall. I think has a great opportunity, had good success rates in Matt Harmon's reception perception, even coming out of college, and his few games from last year had good metrics. So I like Ricky Pearsall. I like the upside, and I don't mind taking a shot on. And he's honestly not,
no pun intended,
he's really not that expensive for the upside he could potentially have.
You say you don't mind taking a shot at him. You got to be careful with your words there, Tyler. You know what I'm saying? True. But I think Pearsall's good. And I think that there's a little bit of upside, but to me, it's like wide receiver 3 upside, because we still have Christian McCaffrey that's now back in this offense. You still have George Kittle, who's probably going to be the primary pass catcher in this offense. And I think with Deebo Samuel gone, there's a path to like immediate touches for Ricky Pearsall, which I like. But he's going ahead of like some names that I think are just values right now in drafts, and I think that's my biggest thing. You talked about Matthew Golden. Jaden Reed's down there too if he's able to get on the field for week 1. You got like Stephon Diggs who's in that territory. Cooper Kupp's in that territory. Michael Pittman's in that territory. Even if you don't like those players, they're still good value. And so I have a little bit of issue right now trying to – and Pearsall also goes around like the last of the tight ends. So if you manage to fade tight ends – and you're deciding between like David Njoku, Tyler Warren, Tucker Kraft, you got a Hart, Evan Ingram. Like that's the same kind of range he goes in. I'm having trouble drafting Ricky Pearsall. I think is the thing that's hardest for me right now, and justifying it, because if he's my wide receiver 3, I'll be upset. If he's my flex, I kind of want Pearsall to be on my bench. I want him to be like the upside guy I could throw in there in case something doesn't work out with one of my other players, or in case I hit. I don't know that I want to count on Ricky Pearsall to be in my lineup on a weekly basis. That's the one problem I think I see. And you said 7th round. That's a starter. For most teams, that's a starter. If you went in the 7th round, that's like Jerry Jeudy-ish sometimes goes down there. Like there's legit players in that range. So I don't know that I can get there. The upside might be there for him to be a wide receiver 2. I just don't see it with the weapons that are there right now in San Francisco. It's tough for me to get there, and that's even as a Niner fan.
No, you're wrong. He's going to be great. No, another guy I love in that range, though. I'm a big Travis Etienne stan, so I like to go Travis a lot.
Sometimes that's it. It's just about who you're drafting in that range, and I think Pearsall could outplay it. But like, there's some good names. You got to take that's I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But overall, let us know what your guys' thoughts are. Ricky Pearsall, Brandon Aiyuk, this entire Niners receiver room.